We're back again. Alliance Cloud9 game 2. Despite, we were sitting in the in-between, and I was looking at that score, and it looks like today has been fairly one-sided, at least from the scores anyway, but it just really wasn't true. Our first series, despite being 2-0 to Bears, was actually hosted, quite a interesting back and forth, and some cool dynamics that had, kind of been unexplored, especially with a new team like that. Very fun to watch game 1 and 2. Game 1 of Alliance versus Cloud9, however, was probably the most one-sided affair that we've seen in quite some time. Alliance picking up the Tiny 1-2 did not work out for them, as Cloud9 seemed to have drafted themselves quite a strong standing there with the AoE control and the tanky lineup. So Alliance looking to bounce back after that rough game 1. They did tie last time they met Cloud9. Maybe they can do it again with a bit better setup. Gods, what are you thinking? You thinking that Alliance, just shake off a rough draft and they'll be okay?
Yeah, I think, they've done it before. They've had these draws against Cloud9. They should ideally look for something less high risk, I guess. I don't think they go into that draft thinking like, all right, we're going to draft this lineup where we have to win early game and completely snowball, or we've got zero chance of winning. But at the same time, they didn't end up with a very well-rounded draft. I think the IO Tiny is a very risky opening, maybe saying they're going to try again, but even outside of the IO Tiny, they didn't fill the rest of their draft with something that worked. They didn't get a good Jonas hero, I feel, was the other big thing. Clockwork didn't really seem to fit all too well. Then they had this Venge Coddle lane, which wasn't that strong. I don't know. I definitely wasn't feeling the Alliance draft, and Cloud9 just outmaneuvered them from start to finish.
Yeah, Jonas is, I think, a very important part of Alliance, because he's a bit of a problem, I think, for them, because Jonas has shown in the past that he can have explosive performances from the offlane position, but we really haven't seen too many of those unless he's on a Legion Commander or something. He gets a very special kind of game that he really can go off, but he has not had the same kind of consistent performances that we used to see way back when on the old NIP when he was playing with Hanskin, and we need to see more of him if Alliance is going to be a successful team, and maybe a part of that is giving him a better draft, better heroes to work around with, and maybe it's even less. Maybe it's a little bit draft. Maybe it's also opening up his lane a little bit more. Like Newbie does with KP, right? They always make sure that KP has a successful off lane because they move their supports into that off lane situation. In the first 10 minutes, almost always, sometimes in the first 5 minutes, and lend KP at that helping hand. Maybe Jonas needs something like that to really be the explosive player that we used to see.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of key thing is this is a player who likes to be aggressive. On the scale of offlane is the very aggressive side, meaning your Ice style, or your very safe defensive side, your Universe style. He's more on the aggressive style, and you can't play from behind and be in that aggressive role. And that's where I think giving him some help and playing more around him is definitely something that's going to suit Alliance. They've tweaked their draft, though. They don't go for the Tiny in the first 2, and then it gets banned out. They instead go for the Luna. I think this is just, in general, a bit more well-rounded and not something that's going to present any obvious weaknesses from the start.
Oh, I heard the unpause timer going down. I was like, what the hell? But yeah.
I thought I had a stream or something open. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But yeah, what do you think about the Enigma as a second pickup for Cloud9 this time around? It very likely to be banned away in 3-4 and such, but do you think that hero really was it that much of a key to success for Cloud9 in game 1 to warrant it a second pick?
Yeah, I think it was very much they may go IO Tiny again, even though they lost with it. It's very good against the IO Tiny draft. It's a pretty reliable, safe offlane to have regardless, because you can just deny farm as well as experience away from the enemy carry while guaranteeing your own farm and transition in that mech. So it seems to be a hero that Cloud9 play well around. And this is something which I think, for the most part, is a benefit to Cloud9, is when they find heroes in a style that works for them, they stick to it. They're going to repeat the same heroes. After a while, they maybe get figured out. But they used to have their Centaur strats. They were running the Ogre Sniper stuff before a lot of the other teams were. They find picks and styles that work for them, and they'll stick with it until it gets figured out. And I think that's kind of what this early Enigma pick is kind of saying to me, that they feel like this is a key hero for them strategically that they can make work with perhaps a more versatile hero pool from Baby Knight. I feel like Baby Knight has one of the probably bigger hero pools as far as the Cloud9 team go, and then Ace is pretty good as well.
Yeah, and perfect scenario. I mean, a best of 3, right? They've got that extra game to drop at this point, that if Alliance do manage to counter this Enigma and take game 2, then they still have a 3rd draft to be able to move forward with in this series. Terrorblade and Ember Spirit going to be banned away by Alliance. Tiny and Ursa going to be the counters by Cloud9. 3rd pick coming up. What's left in the pool that's good versus Luna? I was going to say Rubik, but they opt for the Disruptor against the Wisp.
Disruptor against the Wisp. We saw it last game. We'll see if they get some kind of good... I mean, they had some good glimpses just by the Earth Spirit, like blinking in and getting vision, but no obvious like vision heroes right now, and then they're going to leave their key cores till the end of the draft, I guess. They do have the last overall pick, so they can try and abuse that 10th pick of the draft to get some kind of mid or carry that can't be countered, so to speak. But right now, the draft is wide open. Obviously, Cloud9, their playstyle is a bit more 5-man death bully than other teams, so likely we see some kind of... I mean, they need pushing calls regardless of whether they're going late game or split push, but their draft is very open.
Alliance... a little bit more locked down in this Luna, but we've seen, I guess, Luna as a hero be versatile enough, right? Can work into deathball lineups, can work into a little bit more mid or late game focus lineups as well, if they want to pick up a different carry in that mid role. What other limp heroes are left? They're probably not going to 3rd pick it. Might even save it for 5th pick, but I'm just kind of looking at what kind of mids are still left in the pool. I think we've got SF and Sniper for Cloud9. That is a Baby Knight specialty, and it's also very good versus Luna.
Lone Druid's still in the pool as well, which I look at more for Cloud9. I've seen Ace play the hero a bit. Alliance are going to choose just take the CM, hide their core, their mid hero, their limp hero, at least for now. But I think Lone Druid's probably one of the big calls I look at as still being very potent. Does fine against the IO Luna CM. Like, there's nothing here where it says, oh, it's going to be a bad game for a Lone Druid. The Spiritfarer is actually pretty good against Luna, tanks the Eclipse, so does seem to suit the 5-man oriented style that Cloud9 like to go for, although it takes a bit longer to come online.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't give them the same kind of lineup they had last time, right? Which is, some early death balls, some, running in 5-man into towers. Lone Druid is certainly not going to give you that same kind of assured firepower that the Enigma gave them last time around with their cores. But we'll have to wait and see. Alliance still have... there's Lone Druid. All right, God's on point. They're picking it into a Crystal Main, which is a little bit harder for the Bear as well, but as you said, quite good against the Luna.
Yep. Nowadays, your Bear is kind of just fodder anyways. I mean, it's 300 gold, so it's still worth killing, but not too worried about that Bear dying when you're going for a push. Doesn't have any items on it typically, so now Alliance know what they're up against. You mentioned the Sniper. Now the Sniper becomes more appealing against a Lone Druid, but Sniper Luna... don't know how solid that really sounds. It seems like you've got two kind of squishier range carries just put together and not much team fight.
They could try and risk a last pick like Alchemist or something. I think that's one of the other heroes that I think is a suitable response to the Lone Druid. I think they're very limited heroes like SF, Sniper. I think Lifestealer Slardar is kind of okay against. Obviously, there's no space for it here. But when it comes down to mids, there's not much left. It's Sniper, SF, I think OD maybe, and then Alchemist.
I feel like Alchemist is one of those heroes that people just kind of forgot about a bit on the new patch. Like, okay, the jungle's been changed. He's just not as good as he used to be. But his Greaves, I mean, his Greed spell got nerfed a little bit as far as there being all the extra bounty runes, but not giving as much gold. But I think Alka is still a very viable hero, and against this kind of a Cloud9 draft is very good for stalling and defending towers.
All right, so Centaur for Alliance, good for closing the distance on a Lone Druid, can give you a little bit more team fight, tankiness, or power later on to the game. Cloud9, they've got to get an aggressive hero, right? Some sort of core that comes online relatively early, because you've got the fighting power of Enigma, which is mostly sustain and control, and you've got some decent control out of your supports as well. But Lone Druid is a little bit, a little bit slower, so you got to get something a bit fast for Cloud9, right?
Oh yeah, right now I'm liking this alliance draft a lot better from last game. I think Cloud9 will have issues dealing with that, like 10 to 15 minute stage aggression coming from Alliance, where they can fight around the Stampede, the IO Luna relocating in, some kind of potential partner with the IO can come into play. The Tinker, another global hero that can put a lot of pressure on getting banned out. I like that ban, but I think there's plenty of other options that can fulfill a similar role and cause problems for Cloud9 in this game. So this is looking like a much better, more Alliance-esque draft where they've got Jonas on a hero. I think that's like the key player that I feel like is going to do a lot better this game with the Centaur and around these heroes on the rest of his team.
What do you think about a Vengeful Spirit for Cloud9? A core Vengeful Spirit comes online a little bit earlier. Is that just not good enough? Do you prefer like a Juggernaut or something?
I guess it puts Lone Druid in the mid lane, where I feel like he's a hero you just want to kind of sit him in the bottom, like the safe lane, and just have him farm away. So I think you're looking more for a mid laner. Viper gets banned. I think like Viper is not really that aggressive here, but he just sits there farming, and Cloud9 would probably just try hit this timing where they get the Dragon Lance on Viper.
Whoa!
Oh gosh, that's like an old school kind of hero that used to be played against the Lone Druid, but more for the Spirit Bear. I mean, obviously killing the Spirit Bear is still good, but I'm not sure how well Death Prophet will do against the super range of the Lone Druid later on in the game. But this is like mid-game, let's push, let's hit a timing where Lone Druid's not ready to fight, and we can push down some towers.
So maybe SF gives you team fighting power. Sniper still gives you really good high ground defense when you know they're going all push, but I don't...
You want burst damage as well. Like, you want to kill Death Prophet fast is the thing. This is a hero that will heal a lot through the Spirit Siphon if you're not focusing it down fast.
So were you leaning more towards the SF? Because I kind of was too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Sniper's not really it's a good lane for Sniper where you've got that ranged against the Death Prophet. Even that is like not going to be incredible necessarily. But I mean, the Sniper Earthspirit can put a lot of pressure on Death Prophet. Like, I don't think Alliance have the best heroes to contest that mid lane. You can try and heal the Death Prophet a bit with the IO, but outside of the lane, I think come mid game, this is not the best hero for fighting into Death Prophet.
Yeah, this is going to be definitely a very, I think, lopsided power spikes for Cloud9. Like, they're going to be good in laning phase. Sniper versus a Death Prophet, that's fine. Lone Druid in his lane, all good. Enigma farming, good. But once we reach, like, 15 minutes, I think we're going to see a very distinct drop-off in power. And then I think it's going to be a question of whether or not they can hold their high ground well enough for Cloud9, and they do have some severely strong high ground that is going to be very tough for Alliance to push into with some of these squishier heroes. Luna and Death Prophet are both going to be targeted down by Sniper and Lone Druid at 1,000 range apiece, and they might not be able to close that distance in time.
That's a pretty brutal high ground defending duo, but I think again, the key hero, Jonas, Stampede this game is going to be the big kind of spell for Alliance to fight around. If you can use that Stampede to get on top of those range heroes at the back, that's going to be your way to take a fight. But that's where items like Hurricane Pike come into play, as well as the Savage Roar from the Lone Druid. If you can catch them with the Savage Roar when they're stampeding on top of you, that's going to be able to buy you some space. So there are ways to get away from the Stampede in of Alliance. As well as the relocate, that's the other kind of good gap closer, but they haven't got like good gap closing up capabilities for either Luna or Death Prophet, who are their main damage dealers.
C9 playing the same exact strategy, sitting around this this offlane bounty rune area, waiting for Alliance to crash into them. This time around, Alliance did smoke up, but they went into the Radiant Jungle, got themselves some nice aggressive wards. This one's going to block out the pull. They've also got this nice mid ward that is less likely to be countered, and they're still going to get themselves both bounty runes, so that won't be a problem either.
Interesting. I like you. It's no longer like, oh, it's the Dire bounty runes and Radiant, like both teams getting 2 apiece, but not the ones you'd normally expect.
Yeah.
With those enemy jungle ones being contested, but Centaur in the safe lane is going to be up against, well, Ace. Ace has dodged the aggressive lane coming out, so anticipating this aggression from Alliance, he's headed to the offlane. And I think that's pretty important, that you want to make sure you have this Enigma against the Luna lane, where you're just denying those range creeps. Although I say that Hestejo's actually missed the first range creep, so he's going to have to go running after it and
Oh dear,
find himself in a bit of a tough spot.
Yeah, that is that's a bit unfortunate. Alliance, even if they have been dodged, though, they've got some decent rotation power, right? I'm thinking like maybe they just put Hanskin. I'm trying to think if it's like Hanskin or EGM that should go up to the top lane if it's needed, or if they just keep this aggro tri-lane.
I guess now with the Earth Spirit down here, they may feel like they need to keep numbers down here. Ideally, EGM wants to hit a fast level 2, get the Arcane Aura online, so he may just fall back to the jungle a little bit. But leaving Luna down here alone seems like a risky option.
An awkward animation for Limp to be able to get denies, but he's still doing it. 4-4 so far against Baby Knight Sniper, who is it's a quite distinct attack damage deficit. So not too terribly surprising, I guess. A roll in, misses out. Noya not going to be able to hit anything there. In fact, immediately he's going to be countered as Death Prophet managed to get a Spirit Siphon onto him. That is going to be part of the hard part for Earth Spirit. Death Prophet, we haven't seen a whole lot of her lately, but if you remember back in the days, she was one of the more notorious heroes for gank turnarounds, where you jump onto her and you think you're going to be able to kill her, and then Spirit Siphon just does its work.
Oh, yeah. And now you're seeing there already has the bottle, the tether, so you can heal up teammates, but it's funny, the other thing that kind of comes to mind when you ask, like, why is Io not picked as much is the shrines. You've got free Ios right by your mid lane. That shrine can heal you up as a mid laner, so I think Io has fallen off because of those shrines as well a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
That kind of goes back to a past discussion we're having, but that kind of just that came up. But
yeah, I think that's a good point.
As it stands, the lanes seem to be a lot more even than I was expecting. I mean, the aggressive tri-lane being dodged is kind of the big reason there. Hestejo is just going to be the one trying to do what he can to deny some Luna farm, but mid lane is going to be where things look to heat up as both teams are rotating in supports.
Yeah, another attempted roll-in. Limp is going to be good, though. Heals himself up. Hanskin starts making his way down to bottom. Ace is going to have a complete 1v1 against Jonas some fun. Kind of similar to, what was it, the Ad Finum, where we had Nyx. Hestejo eats through the trees, a little bit more distance. Those spirit balls aren't quite hitting him. Hestejo might be able to juke this out a little bit further, but he just can't find an opening. Those trees are all closed off to him. Hanskin is going to go down, but Rise is now low enough that Loda can pick up that kill, or rather EGM is going to be able to pick it up. Loda still plenty of HP underneath this tower. We'll make sure that there's no pursuit onto EGM. So one for, what was that? Is that just straight up 1 for 2? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 1 for 2. Cool decision from Hanskin. He was holding the skill point. I was waiting to see if he got like the overcharge to heal up his mid lane, but he goes for the spirits, and that helps him go for that extra dive, gives him some extra damage, and more importantly, the scouting behind the tower. So a good aggressive option from Alliance, and they finally capitalize on this aggressive tri lane.
Yeah, they need it too, because Ace is got to be worried about him. Hestejo taking a lot of spirit damage again. Loda thinking about running forward and trying to get that extra nuke, but got to wait for that healing salve to cool off from his backpack. Rise might be able to catch something here. Unfortunately, only has level 1 of Glimpse, so won't be able to catch EGM to keep him in place. Hestejo, he may be caught by the spirits here. The kick is going to be able to stop. Oh, okay, never mind. It stopped Hanskin, but Loda was still able to get the extra right click thanks to the tether movement speed. So 1-3 now. Alliance taking an early lead in the laning phase.
Yeah, they're not getting much farm in the center at top, but he's at least getting his levels, and that's really all you're pretty happy with, because once Jonas hits level 6, he can help out this off lane without having to directly be there. Mid lane Limp's being rolled on, and we'll go.
The Spirit Siphon
saving him.
Oh, they're still trying to get him. They managed to get the glimpse back, and there's just not enough heals from Hanskin to be able to save him the second time around. So Limp still goes down.
Yeah. Very, very close to surviving that one. I think there was one uphill miss coming in from the sniper there as well, but he's going to be tangoing up. I love this from Baby Knight. He puts his Wraith Bands into his backpack while he's tangoing. He's like, all right, there's no one here contesting my CS. I don't need these Wraith Bands.
Oh, but he missed a CS for it. GG. Yeah, and now he's like, oh, like Swindles with the Yule Scepter all over again. This efficiency wasn't worth it.
Good thing is nowadays you're not dropping those items on the ground.
Yeah.
It's...
all things looking good for Alliance despite the death of Limp in mid. They're still holding 1,000 gold lead, about 400 experience. A decent start for them, especially since we've talked about in the draft. They're going to hit a very strong mid-game point. So a decent laning phase can set that off even more. But it looks like EGM's going to be caught by Ace. They probably weren't expecting this rotation. Ace is now going to settle down in the safe lane, and they're going to move other heroes. Limp is going to be caught here inside the kinetic field. Spirit Siphon still going out. Now he has the help of Hanskin, but they're still going to be able to burst him down and catch Hanskin as well with the extra damage. Again, Cloud9 making the heavy rotations into mid, and it's paying off big time.
Yeah, it really is. And this is like that double Wraithband build and just having all the support constantly moving in. And this CMIO support duo are not good supports really to rotate around and protect you. Meanwhile, on the Cloud9 side, you've got Earth Spirit, one of the best aggressive supports to pair up with a sniper. All you've got to do is get like a second of shrapnel slow, and then it almost guarantees that rolling ball that hits. And so hard to play around that mid lane as a Death Prophet, one of the slower, squishier mid laners to be. And we're seeing Limp get punished a couple of times in a row now by the Cloud9 aggression.
Loda and Hanskin spending some time in the jungle together. They don't have level 6 on Hanskin. Oh, they're waiting for a smoke from EGM, so they are going to make a bit of an excursion into the Radiant jungle, see what they can come upon here. Maybe a wrap onto mid instead, and they're going to be, this is pretty fortuitous timing, or at least a little bit. They dodged one support, but they still may run into Noya before managing to catch Baby Knight. Noya ducks himself into the trees. They're going to pop the Centaur ultimate. They're going to try and run down Baby Knight. They catch him with the Frostbite. That'll be an easy kill. Noya runs the same direction that Alliance came from. Rice gets a little bit of vision on Hanskin, but it doesn't look like the rotations are even going to be attempted by Cloud9. I think they made this read pretty early in their draft. They're like, sometimes, guys, we just can't fight them. And that's one of those
I like
points.
the call from Cloud9. Like, they just completely abandoned ship in the mid lane. They know that's the Stampede on cooldown, so they've now got a little bit of a window where they don't have to worry about it. And they can even come back and defend this now with Stampede down.
Yeah, Loda's going to be caught here. He's trying to play around this glimpse. He knows he's going to be pulled back into his death. No teammates to save him. He's going to try and go for the kill on Rise, but Hestajo turns around and puts a stopper on that one with a Malefice. Ace managed to pick up the offlane tower of Alliance in the meantime, and that's really the dangerous part. Is that Alliance...
Yeah, and I think that's where the investment mid, it doesn't really pay off in the end for Alliance. Like, you kill a sniper, but you stick around too long thinking you can turn it into a +1 tower, and then you lose a tower at bottom. You also lose your Luna with the glimpse back in. Like, that, end of the day, that's a big win for Cloud9, everything that happened there.
Yeah, absolutely. They're rapidly progressing towards that mech on the Enigma as well. A little bit of punishment there. Baby Knight onto Limp for taking down that ward. They're going to bring Ace into mid now, see if they can get some damage onto mid. Now, I'm sure Alliance are still going to be able to protect their mid tower, but maybe they can just force rotations, or maybe not. Maybe with the big ultimates on cooldown, one of which hasn't even been leveled yet. Death Prophet, only level 7, hasn't gotten Exorcism, and with Eclipse down, Alliance don't seem to feel like they can fight at all.
Hestajo almost solo killed Jonas up top, and this is just keeping the Centaur busy while the real push happens mid. And we're seeing Cloud9, we talk about them being this early 5-man team and Lone Druid not really fitting that style. They're just playing it slightly different to what most Lone Druid players are doing. They're playing a bit less farm intensive, saying, look, we've still got this level 4 Spirit Bear. Yeah, there's no items on the Spirit Bear, but it still packs a punch. It still does good damage to buildings with the Demolish and Ace. He's got Treads, he's got a Blightstone. Like, that's enough to at least chip away at towers with your team, and Alliance take some damage, but now they've got Eclipse and Stampede back up. They really want to try and fight around these ultimates.
So Cloud9, probably just got to break up again, do the split push, Lone Druid on one half of the map, Hestajo on the other.
It's really like, I think splitting up is fine, because if those ultimates, ideally want to make it so that Alliance like commit those ultimates and only get like a kill, like happened last time. If you lose a sniper or a Lone Druid for like a multiple ultimate usage, like an Eclipse and a Stampede, you just turn around as soon as those heroes respawn and like go take a tower or go take the fight to Alliance. So I think what we're seeing from Cloud9 is just like a bit more calculated. They're the ones waiting to react to Alliance, at least when those ultimates are up.
You know, that I think that is in large part, despite Death Prophet fitting many of the checks in the boxes requirements for cores in this patch. You know, team fight, pushing power, all that sort of deal. I think a large part of Death Prophet not being picked up is that long cooldown of Exorcism. And they have some long cooldowns on both sides. Luna, she's been able to overcome her Eclipse cooldown for the most part in many of the matches that we've watched. But Death Prophet and Luna on the same team may not be able to overcome that distinct disadvantage that they're at after one team fight.
Yeah. And like even if you win a team fight and use like a Stampede Eclipse and you've got trying to push with an Exorcism, like you can still get brought down very quickly. Cloud9 have more than ample amounts of damage to do that, but I think right now Cloud9, the big thing there, they can actually look to fight into the Eclipse Stampede once they have the mech, and that's exactly what Hesejo just has the money to complete now. But can he get down to this bottom lane in time is another question. Ace is in a lot of danger of being smoke wrapped on.
Oh, can Ace do this? He needs the right Savage Roar here. Pushes back Yonasamfon with the haste still up, so he will manage to get out. And maybe this is a turnaround opportunity. Noya comes in. Nice two-man stun, but Yonasamfon is going to be saved by Hanskin. Plenty of heals coming out, but Limp, he doesn't have the same opportunity. He just gets targeted down by Baby Knight, and the damage over time is immense. Alliance are losing hero after hero. Loda is going to be the only one who escapes that nasty engagement.
That's, I mean, it was one thing I looked at in the draft. I was like, all right, Stampede, great against getting on top of a Lone Dread Sniper. And then I thought about it more. I'm like, is it really? Against Hurricane Pike, not great.
Yeah.
Against the Savage Roar, also not great. And we saw it there. You need to hit that Centaur stun onto the Lone Druid. Otherwise, he just Savage Roars. And the CM Ultimate got Lone Druid down to half HP, but sure as hell wasn't going to kill him on its own. So Savage Roar is a great counter to Stampede. And that is a big problem for Alliance when they lose the big fight around Stampede. They're now set back drastically.
Yeah, it turns all that extra movement speed against you, and then by the time Savage Roar is done, you no longer have that movement speed again. So I think they desperately need Blink Dagger on Yonasamfon, but he's nowhere close to it. So Cloud9 are now going to be able to take a tier 2 at bottom lane, it seems. The Alliance unable to fight again. They attempt for deny, but not on point. Cloud9 on Baby Knight will pick up the last hit instead.
That's his Dragonlance, so that's more survivability for him, and the whole Cloud9 team feels like they're in a position where they can start actually 5-manning down towers into Alliance having all their ultimates. Without a blink on Centaur, I just don't see a good way for Alliance to approach a fight, because they try and Stampede in, something similar to what happened down bottom happens. It doesn't even have to be a Savage Roar, it could be like a Boulder Smash from an Earth Spirit, or a Silence onto the Centaur so that he can't get off his Hoof Stomp. They're very reliant on that Hoof Stomp to start a fight, and kind of feels, at least where the game is now, like it feels like he should have perhaps gone for it before the Hood, but ideally in Alliance's mind they were going to get enough kills just through the Stampede without having a Blink Dagger that they would still get a good timing on it, but yeah, losing that first big fight sets them back.
Man, it is so hard to gank Ace. Between his bear and then a Helmet Dominator creep and then that Savage Roar, he's got plenty of information for when he goes for these side lane pushes, and then on top of that, failing, you know...
Oh, they found IO.
Yeah, he found him. Hodskins. Very dead. They're immediately going to turn that into more tier 2 tower damage. And
they may force them back. Like, you don't have to necessarily take Arax, but at least force Alliance to come defend their high ground. You're looking at an Enigma Lone Druid with mech. Like, this is definitely a lineup that could threaten high ground right now.
Yeah,
and I think it'd be a mistake of Cloud9 not to go for that high ground play.
Yeah, you can't outpush these guys, not with the Lone Druid. At this point, anyway. Alliance don't get any real damage on the tier 2 at bottom just yet. Luna is still going to attempt it, but Limp is going to be the one trying to defend high ground here. TP's coming in. Limp being dropped lower and lower by the steady and sure damage of Baby Knight with that long range. Now the TP is back from Cloud9 to defend their tier 2. Ace is going to be the first one out. Yonasamfon is in position to try and counter, but against Ace, we've already talked about how that Stampede is not really the initiation he wants, so Loda may just be caught here. They pop the Stampede now. Loda's going to try and get away with that distance. Looks like... well, he may not be good. Oh, okay.
He could have kept chasing.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're chasing into. There's a shrine that can be TP'd to there, so I think he just said, all right, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but...
yeah.
Good damage up top. They defend the tier 2 bottom. I think Alliance really make the only play they can make there, which is force them back at bottom lane, but it's still Alliance playing defensively with a draft that wanted to be the aggressors. Like, you're looking at this Luna Centaur duo that wants to be the ones taking fights and going in, playing fast pace, but they're just not in a position to do so. Enigma's going to be that pipe mech carrier this game. That just is impossible to fight into as well. Like, once there's a pipe up on top of the mech, I just don't see Alliance really winning a team fight.
Limp almost stretches out a little bit too far. Maybe he still did. Glimpse back, pull back into the kinetic field. They will manage to get him. Rise, he'll give up his life to be able to kill that core. Now Noya gets the initiation onto more. EGM in a perfect position for that freezing field, even missing the kick there. So EGM continues to just let it go. They bring down 2 supports, but still, Ace is not backing down. He gets some more damage on that tier 2. Just a cheeky couple of hits. He'll lose his Spirit Bear because of it, which is 300 HP. Maybe he has to Joe, looking for that black hole. Thinks better of it. Starts backing himself up, dependent on that mech. EGM needs some help. Hanskin, the other support, trying to help him out with a little bit more. The Eclipse goes down. Loda actually trying to come into all this, but there's too many creeps. He misses most of his Eclipses, and now Loda's going to be caught inside the Entangle. Nice silence out from Lim. He tries to come forward with his ultimate. Push back this sniper and see if they can actually catch him. Malefice will provide a little bit of separation. Glimpse gives him even more. Kick in. Almost catches him. Yule Scepter goes down. Limp is going to try and fight that one out. Assassinate actually finishes off Hanskin, while the Centaur still goes down as well. C9 in good fighting shape as they now chase away the rest of Alliance, look to be able to catch Loda. Noya locked on target there with a good kick, stops his retreat, and it looks like C9 win the engagement and will take the tier 2 tower, the last remaining one of Alliance at 17 minutes.
Yeah, I think that fight mostly just a byproduct of Alliance being behind. Like, Loda still only had a level 1 Eclipse. He had a decent kind of flank coming in from behind. There was still Enigma Eidolons there, but having just a level 1 Eclipse, the mech basically counted all the damage output that was coming out, and C9 just kind of too far ahead on items at this point. Limp unable to really offer a whole lot. He even had just the level 1 Exorcism, so C9 able to just kite around all the big spells. And it was also the reveal of the Centaur Blink. He airballed the stun when he initiated him, which really hurt Alliance. I think if that stun at least caught one, they could have found a kill and been able to disengage cleanly, but the kiting from this lone druid, I mean, you're seeing what this hero can do even with minimal items. Just the Spirit Bear with the Savage Roar constantly, Ace just hitting and running constantly with the Dragon Lance range advantage. Like, it's just so hard to get on top of Ace right now.
Yeah, it's going to be even harder to get on top of Baby Knight now with the Shadow Blade being picked up. He doesn't even try and go for the Hurricane Pike. He's going to be living that invis life.
Yeah, that's a problematic item. Alliance need to find some kills soon. The next smoke, I imagine, should be coming probably soon. They've got one on the Crystal Maiden, and ideally using that to get some good Centaur initiations off. But it's going to be so hard now with a pipe up. If Cloud9 is sticking together as 5, and I imagine that's the idea with Roche on the chopping block. There's a double damage rune there and everything, and put that on, I imagine, Ace and get in the Roche pit, and this is going to be a very hard Roche to stop. They're actually worried. Okay, they'll see some Alliance heroes down bottom now, but they do have to... Yeah, it's a 3-man smoke with a relocate.
Stomp, attempted.
Oh, no,
Yonosafan misses that one. Yes, to Joe is going to be the target here of the silence, but Limp, they're too close together. Now going to be pulled into the black hole. EGM can't do anything to stop that one with Frostbite on cooldown. The Luna in from the side manages to pick up at least one. The sniper goes down, but he immediately gets turned around by Ace. All that physical damage comes to the floor. They bring down 3 of Alliance, losing their sniper, yes, but they're still going to be able to use this double damage to finish up Roshan and get an Aegis for Ace.
Did Sniper have his Shadow Blade in his backpack, or had he not picked up yet? Because he actually, like, when he died, I clicked him and he had his Shadow Blade up, so I almost want to say, like, he got caught within his backpack or something, but even so, like, it's still a very handily won teamfight for Cloud9. I mean, you've got a double damage rune on a lone druid fighting around that area. That was very hard for them to lose, and losing just a Sniper to secure an Aegis is easily a win for them. Now they get that plus 65 damage on Ace as well. So now, basically, what he had in that last one with the double damage rune, he has permanently. There's a good way to look at that. Maybe slightly less than double damage, but pretty damn close to it.
I don't think he had the Maelstrom in the fight either, so he picked that up towards the end of it as well. So that just means there is a whole lot of damage that Alliance didn't even have to contend with last team fight that they're going to have to in the next push that comes out from C9.
And this is like, you've lost map control, you've lost your shrines. Yeah.
Oh. Missed Savage Roar there.
Didn't blink to the best spot, but hasn't been found at least. Oh, he will get found if he walks out.
Oh, spotted out for a second there. He's going to have to do a quick blink. Doesn't get it in time. Now the Stampede goes down, but he has no way out of this. When he goes straight for Rise, trying to actually challenge him, will manage to get the kill. Loda and EGM comboing up here. Even if they don't have the Eclipse, they might just be able to bring down Ace. They get one, but an Assassinate comes in. Manage to finish off Hanskin, and that is necessary for Loda to have the sustain to fight out this fight against Ace. All that physical damage coming in from a distance. He couldn't finish up Noya, and now will just die to the 2 cores of Cloud9 from a distance. Limp, he's being hunted now with his ultimate out. He still has to be careful. It's the single target.
I mean, even with it still up, I don't think he wants to go anywhere near this Cloud9 unit. One Malefice will be the death of him, and Limp has to stay as far back as possible. Now they've only got the Eclipse for the high ground defense. Stampede's still on cooldown as well. It was a good attempt. I think it's the kind of aggression Alliance needed to make based on their position. They tried to catch him by surprise, fight around that Stampede, but it just didn't work out for him.
So Cloud9 take the top lane of Rax. Start working on mid. Alliance very rapidly becoming do or die for them. Do or die for Yonosumfon in particular. But he can't get the initiation now with the Orb of Venom on him, and the Bears zoning him back. He just can't really close the distance like he wants to allow Alliance a clean way to get into this fight. They've got the Stampede now, but it seems like they're going to give up a second lane of Rax without a fight.
Yeah, I like how Ace played that. Often you see players just stick the Spirit Bear on the Rax as well, but he was just positioning it to get extra scouting information and be in a good spot to get a Savage Roar off. So if he gets blinks stunned by a Centaur, he can just Savage Roar the Luna, the Death Prophet, or whoever's going to follow it up. They secure the melee Rax. Range Rax is good as dead as well. And all C9 have to do is kind of maintain map, get some map control up, keep Alliance in their base. I mean, I think talking about securing the next Roshan is perhaps a bit too far away. If anything, Cloud9 are just one team fight away from the game, so they may be looking to end it before then. They haven't got the best vision right now, with Alliance having pretty good vision surrounding their base, but Alliance have to smoke. They have to make play. Like, Alliance can't sit back and wait for another Roshan or wait for another Cloud9 play. They've got to be the ones getting on the aggressive now.
And you could see Cloud9 are anticipating that. They throw down the scan, expecting some sort of 3-man smoke wrap around to occur, but maybe they were just a bit too early with it. Alliance, they're really not going to go for it. They're showing Limp now in range, while Baby Knight starts taking down that tier 3 tower one shot at a time. The wrap comes through now. This time the Dire going for the scan into the high ground to make sure they're not going to run into anybody. So they're showing Limp as the defender, and they're going to try and get their 2 initiators into the back line here, but C9 are all smoked up, giving up no information. Now the initiation comes in. Stampede, but a 4-staff away. Baby Knight is away now. He managed to get the dust out, but it doesn't matter. Limp's not targeting him. He's targeting Ace instead with double Spirit Siphon, but he's Savage Roared away. Luna gets dropped with the attempted relocate in the side, and that is going to be it. It looks like for Alliance. Hesta Joe gets the black hole onto Limp. Mass buybacks coming forward, but GG, well played is called. Alliance know they have no firepower left. 2-0. For Cloud9, we're not going to see a Game 3 in the DAC European qualifiers, not today anyway.
I mean, that's good form from Cloud9, like 2 games in a row, very clear strategies that they executed like incredibly well. Like, you're looking at this game, I'm like, all right, it's a similar kind of idea to Game 1. They're going to 5-man death ball a bit, but not till later on. But once they get that slight, they win that first fight, they're very quick to end these games. They don't let these games drag out. Like, I feel like a lot of teams, or even Cloud9, were in a position where they could have dragged this game out and not played as aggressively as they did, but they completely shut down any chance of a comeback from Alliance. They played very well around this offlane Enigma, just having the early mech pipe, or in Game 1 it was the mech Crimson Guard, just giving them this incredible team fight advantage is something Alliance just didn't really have an answer to.
Yeah, and Cloud9 look to, with that, we're talking about this Group B. What's it? Liquid, Cloud9, Alliance, and then NIP, right? I think that's the Group B for this GSL.
Yeah, so it'll be Liquid versus NIP in the other semifinal.
And then Cloud9 will await the winner of that matchup. And same goes with Alliance in that lower part. We are going to be back tomorrow. That is it for today for the European qualifier. The NA qualifiers are going to be starting up here pretty soon. Trying to find the schedule here. Yeah, Liquid versus NIP is going to be the first game tomorrow, part of Group B, and then we jump to Group A again and watch Navi versus Secret as the second series. So if you guys want to join us for the DAC European qualifiers, we're going to be here every single day starting at 15 CET, running for about 6 hours as 2 best-of-3s a day. Gods, you got anything else?
No, not too much. I'm looking forward to the NA Dota. We've got PPD's new team playing in a couple of hours against DC, so that's going to be, for me, that's kind of like the highlight match. Well, that and Bears. I think Bears is kind of the other big story for today, just the reveal of some of these new rosters and seeing just how good they're going to be. So I guess similar maybe expectations as far as a PPD team goes, but we'll have to wait and see for them.
All right, guys, go check out DC versus Wanted. That's in, what, 2.5 hours, you said? Yeah, 2.5 hours,
yeah,
I think so.
2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours 25, yeah.
All right, go see that, and we will see you guys tomorrow.